Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jump Up Supercast, the only podcast on the internet that's feeling a little bit more British this week. I'm Will, and joining me, Brandon.
You fucking what, mate?
Noah.
Stop swearing on your mum.
And Ilse.
It's time to Brexit out of here.
Oh, boy. I like that we did this intro because Saf isn't here this week. So the man that's actually from the UK is closest geographically to the country of Great Britain.
Fucking got him.
He's gone. That's what you get for not staying up, Saf. How are we doing this week, boys?
So good.
So good.
Real good.
Is there a motivating factor?
Oh, there is.
Do you just want to talk about it? Let's just get to it.
I feel like there's something I gotta do.
Damn.
What's something you gotta do?
I gotta catch them all.
Oh, well, Brandon, I have good news for you. There's a video game that will allow you to do that while also tying into the intro of this podcast. Pokemon Sword and Shield was announced. Let's just get into it, boys.
Baby.
Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Sword and
what
Shield.
What a name.
Long names. I guess that's our first take, is the names are long.
Why are they long?
That's not the longest they've been.
Ruby and Sapphire.
Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire.
Oh, well, we don't.
Platinum.
We don't throw those out there. We have like X and Y and Sun and Moon, you know? Those are like literally a letter, and then...
Pokemon
but anyways.
Black version 2?
Yeah.
Ultra
It's
Sun,
Black
Ultra,
too.
Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
We don't count the remakes in the third version. They're weird. we're gonna get Pokemon Gun. But this is... So let's... I mean, we're gonna...
I hope so, so I could shoot myself.
We mentioned that would be useful. That last week we mentioned on this very podcast, hey, Pokemon Day is coming up. We might get something. The day before Pokemon Day, which is February 27th, it was, they said, hey guys, Pokemon Direct's coming tomorrow, approximately 7 minutes. Here's a picture of 3 Pokeballs. Naturally, everyone, you see 3 Pokeballs, you think 3 starters, you think new generation. That's what it was. But I want to make note that not all Pokemon Directs are created equal. We had a very similar linked Direct for Sun and Moon when it was first shown off back in 2016. You might recall we saw nothing but the name.
Yeah. Well, didn't we see like concept art or some weird
We saw it's like the EA special of like, here's people drawing on a tablet. And if you like zoom in, you can see they're like drawing a bird. And you're like, okay, I guess there's a bird Pokemon in this game. That's useful to know. But this time, baby, no, they got to it pretty fast. They, within the span of a minute, they gave us a big old trailer to look at for this game. Gen 8 is real, and it is... The first thing they showed, this is actually interesting. They normally don't do this. They showed the region first and foremost, before we saw any new Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it's the Galar.
In the trailer,
Yeah.
we saw a new Pokemon. But
Yeah. But the very first shot is not, a starter. It is, whoosh, here's Route 1. Look at this game. It's on Switch. It looks better than you remember it looking, and it sort of presents from there, right? It's in the Galar region, Galar, because it's like Gallant, because it's based off the UK.
Oh, is it really? It's based off the UK? That's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Steeples
I didn't
everywhere.
realize that.
All the steeples
It was
you
like
can
castles
handle.
and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Medieval
Yes.
castles, basically.
I mean, and I think it's worth mentioning because I've rewatched this trailer like 40 times, right? Because they also give you a map of the region on the Pokemon website that's like the Alola map was literally everything in that game. If you go back and look, every house is fully on that map. This one, not as much. They play a little bit more fast and loose with it, but it is. They don't show like when you hear UK region. What are the first things you think of when you think of the UK in terms of landmarks?
Big Ben.
Big Ben, the big wheel,
Yeah.
a lot of big things. Neither of those are in that, or the wheel, whatever it is. The big Ferris wheel looking thing.
Yeah, the Skywheel thing.
Skywheel thing. Neither of those are in this trailer. The London equivalent is not shown at all, actually. You can see it on the map. It's at the very top of it. But they go for a bunch of countrysides is sort of what they present here. And we haven't really had since X and Y, really, a type of region like this. We haven't had a region with snow in a very long time. And so I think that it's just cool that they led off with the region for a Pokemon game.
Yeah.
Instead of before you even see the starters.
And they really just use it to show off like how nice this game looks. You know, the caves with like all the different rainbow colored crystals too.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of things showing it off, like the cities with all the gears and water wheels and stuff.
Yeah.
Just showing off lots of moving pieces and how nice everything looks.
Mm-hmm.
Even the house you start in too, it's got like vines all over it too.
Yeah, it's really pleasant to look at, right? It's interesting because I guess I should mention, they end the final shot and they have a little portion. I think Brandon, you will like this, where they show Pokemon battles. They make sure to have a Pokemon from every single generation in that little montage, and I was like, fair play. Look at that.
I didn't really put that together. I mean, but I did notice, there's lots, just showing off lots of Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Showing off new moves, new animations for some moves, which looks nice.
Yeah, and they're showing off like a battle arena, like almost like the multiplayer arena, and like they even almost kind of like I don't know about esports, but like showing off a more serious side just for a moment there with the character wearing kind of like almost like an esports jersey, like a battle, like I don't know. Like
my vibe was super soccer.
Yeah,
it was
I thought it looked like soccer. Basically.
Yeah.
Well, so, I just thought like to the point like, okay, like this is like the serious mode, right? Like they kind of just wanted to bring that to attention for a second.
Sure.
Hey guys, there's gonna be some serious battles in this game.
Yeah,
I really got the vibe that like in the anime when he goes into the league, he has those stadium battles. I really got that kind of vibe.
Yeah. Which is cool because we're seeing, because some people I think had some disappointment that like, we'll get to a little bit people's perceptions walking into this, but the art style, I would say, like the characters themselves are not drastically different than like the style of Sun and Moon characters, right? Like they are definitely altered to fit the region, but people were sort of, I don't know what they were expecting, because like the thing that Sun and Moon did was it made everything sort of to scale, like they all had real proportions instead of being chibi like they were in X and Y,
which was great.
Yeah, and like I don't know why you would think they would try to change that when like they sort of settled on where like they were now matching the concept art in their character models, so they're not going to like change it because they're matching the concept art. But like you mentioned about the gyms, or about the stadiums, they say on the website gyms are back. They don't say like they mentioned that. The stadiums are probably going to be the gyms. At least they're presented as such. From their marketing materials. But I think that's interesting because with Alola, we had the trials. And are you going to miss them? Are you happy to have their return?
I missed the totem Pokemon battles. Those things were fucking challenging.
I didn't like the trials.
I thought they were okay.
Yeah.
I kind of got bored by them. Like I played.
No, not like the trials, like the totem Pokemon battles. Like,
those were cool.
Actually, were they part of the
tough.
trials? I can't remember if they were part of the trials.
They were part of the trial.
They were at the end.
With some, and there were some that like genuinely. I remember the Totem Wishy-Washy battle was the time I was
oh my god,
hard.
yes.
Yeah,
Jeez, I thought I was gonna lose at that point. Like I haven't like actually lost in a Pokemon game outside of like actual multiplayer battles like in forever. I almost lost that battle.
Wait, is that the water one?
Yeah,
that was probably the hardest one.
Yeah,
and maybe the electricity one. I don't remember.
But the thing is, I'm not gonna miss them.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like never hated the fact that they tried something different.
Yeah, like, I'm happy that they exist, but I don't think they were like the thing to take going forward.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad that they shifted back to gyms.
Yeah.
But I don't go back and look at Sun and Moon and go, oh, it was stupid because it didn't have gyms. I just think that it's interesting to look at and think, okay,
it felt more like a theme thing. So like them having trials in England is kind of like, it might not fit as well as it did in Sun and Moon.
I mean, the concept of the kahuna, just even that, like it's clearly, I think that's the thing that they've really brought to the forefront. Basically once they got out of Japan, once that post Gen 4 of like, hey, we're gonna like really try to tie the area that we're in real life that we're basing this region off of into the history of the map itself and into incorporating it into the Pokemon world, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's worth mentioning on the little website they mentioned, Pokemon Sword and Shield will be set in Galar, a expansive region with many environments, idyllic countrysides, contemporary cities, thick forests, and craggy snow-covered mountains. The people and Pokemon live together in this region, and together they've worked to develop the industries there. So, like, already, England remarked upon as like one of the places where the Industrial Revolution first took place. That's like part of the region, is that like, oh no, like the Industrial Revolution happened, like there's a bunch of big built up cities, but Pokemon were there and they were affecting how that stuff developed. And I think that is neat, right? And so, I mean, I just want to make note that there's a lot of people, we still don't know a lot about this game. I went back and I looked at the original unveils for Sun and Moon and X and Y, and just at this point in those showings, we did not know what Mega Evolution was. We did not know what Alolan forms were. We didn't know what Trials were. We didn't know what Kahunas were for Sun and Moon. We didn't know what Z moves were. There's just a lot of the stuff that is still to be revealed with this game, obviously.
Yeah, the multiplayer aspects that they'll definitely get more into.
Yeah,
I'm definitely glad that there's wild Pokemon battles again. I was worried.
There is.
Very excited. Excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, because there was concerns walking in about Let's Go and what will Let's Go affect of Gen 8, and we can now comfortably say two things. One, didn't affect very much, but two, because this game has been in development longer than Let's Go was in development, I'm pretty certain at this point, right? Like, they definitely seem to have fully made this within mind of it being the next step for after Gen 7, here's Gen 8, and it will carry over that legacy. I mean, Masuda even said that in the thing. He was like, this is supposed to be a game that is for longtime fans, for people that are new to the series because of Go and Let's Go. And we're trying to please everybody with this one. And so, we'll see how that works. But I guess then after they show off the region, they show off the Pokemon. We actually do get to see the starters in a little CG video.
Hey.
And they're three little cuties. First and foremost, we see Score Bunny. A little fire rabbit.
That fucking jerk.
That little jabroni.
Looks like an asshole.
I almost thought at first that he could have been like a Victini, like type of
like a mystical.
Yeah, I really thought he could have been. I don't know. He had a cool look to him.
Yeah, that you say it, Victini. There is a little bit of Victini vibes in this guy. But his whole thing is that he runs around a lot. This guy's a running man. And then after that, we see a little fire footprints he leaves. You see a little spurt of water, put him out. A anxious little man named Sobble appears.
I like Sobble.
Basically, your anime girlfriend from any fucking anime. Very timid.
What? Pardon? You've been watching
like
different
timid
anime
and
than I
like
have.
afraid to talk. That shit.
Oh, bashful.
Oh, shy.
Yeah, that shit.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it can camouflage itself. It hides in water. And that's the whole thing. Sob is literally in its name.
It's like a chameleon.
Yeah, it's like a chameleon. And then Grookey, the grass monkey.
The best one of all of them.
I'm happy that you like Grookey.
Oh, that makes you one of you.
Yeah, I'm never been a big monkey man myself. I love Donkey Kong, but...
People have listened to the podcast before, and people that know me know I hate the monkeys in Pokemon.
Well,
there's a lot of them.
Though he is cute, I'll give it that. He is
hell
cute.
With you all.
Yeah, he's
Team Grookey.
I'll hold out my judgment until his final evolution. But
yeah,
it's Donkey Kong.
Sobble Squad forever right now.
Mm-hmm. And
well, you only pick water Pokemon, so what does it matter?
Yeah, gotta stay hydrated, bruh. Come on.
Okay.
I think I'm like. I mostly flip between water and fire, but there are a couple grass starters. Turtwig has a special place in my heart. I love that little man.
Yeah. Snivvy's cool. I like Snivy.
Yeah. Trico's great.
Trico, he's cool.
But I think it's interesting because, of course, whenever you see the first forms of starter Pokemon, you immediately run to, what is their final form going to look like? Because, people run wild and then no one guesses that Litten will turn into a pro wrestler heel cat. But, so, that's part of the fun of it. But just of note, because Pokemon have different names in different regions, things that are referenced in each Pokemon's name, Grookey is supposed to be based off groove and music in I think in Spanish. There's just a lot of different references to music in his names. Score Bunny is referencing goal is referenced in another language, so it's like scoring, scorch, and then like sport, basically. And then Sobble, the only one I could find is a Mosasaur, which is an ancient prehistoric nightmare creature. Like underwater lizard. So
definitely got more towards Sobble now.
he could be a nightmare. So yeah, I mean,
it's terrible.
Sobble squad, boy.
Sobble squad. Yeah, so that's cool. I mean, people always are going to make fan art of this stuff, but really, I think there was a lot always on Twitter of just like, oh, look at all the really cute, drawings, the memes people love. Our immediate limit made Score Bunny, Big Chungus, and well, that's something that I just love about the Pokemon cycle at this point is like whenever they reveal like Pokemon Weekly, because they tend to do that now, basically after E3 ends, like every Pokemon gets its little moment in the spotlight where everyone sort of just talks about it for a little bit, and there's fan art and there's memes made. I think that like Mimikyu rose the day that thing got showed off in the magazine. Everyone's just like, oh, this guy's great.
Mimikyu blew up.
Beware was also another one last gen that was great because I just remember seeing all the Beware fan art. But yeah, so I mean, obviously we'll have more to see from the game as it goes on. Late 2019 is the release date that they've given us, which is
the usual date.
Yeah, November, almost certainly, right?
No, it's got to be November. Yeah.
One little thing.
Me and Muzzy already made a bet about it.
One little thing I want to ask you guys. I don't know if you've seen. I mentioned before the art of the region. I think it's interesting that they clearly have like sections of the map where there's like big gates that block you off, right? And I was wondering, how would you feel about essentially, like, if you look, there's that opening area where your house is, and you see a lot of that first town in the trailer. But then right above it, there's a big old lakes where there's no towns. It's just a bunch of lakes and land to explore, and there's no clearly defined routes, right? And so I saw some people, when they come look at this game, say, this is just more of the same. Pokemon refuses to evolve.
Well, to be fair, it is more of the same.
Well, but I want to make note that, like, that we simultaneously live in this world where half of people think that Pokemon's identical every single game, and then the other half of people are fighting each other to the death on why their generation of choice is clearly way better than the rest, right?
Gen 1?
There you go.
Gen 1ers. Don't get me started.
Yeah. But... And then people, of course, were thinking, oh, when are we going to see Pokemon of the Wild? And it's like, no. This game has a 4-year development cycle, and it has 150 people working on it. Like, it's not... that Breath of the Wild takes years and thousands, over 1,000 people. But would you... I mean, this is the first Pokemon game that will be on a console, right? Is there ultimately the thought of they should have tried to change it up more? Or do you look at this and say, like, no, Pokemon is good for what it is, and I'm happy that they're sticking to that
they should be sticking, but they also need to like introduce more to it. Now that they may finally making the big jump to the console, like they can try a lot more new ideas and add so much more content and like mechanics or like features to it that they didn't have in the past, or were they able to?
Sure. Yeah. And I mean,
I feel like they should stick with the formula more or less, because I mean it's been working the whole time, but just like fully actualize it now that they have the full power of a console behind it.
I think
not get too crazy, because I feel like every time I play Pokemon now, like I take long breaks between Pokemon games. I'm not a huge fan. Sure. But every time I get to it, it's like exponentially more complicated than the last time.
Pokemon, that is the weirdest thing about Pokemon, is that it's both this, one of the biggest franchises, one of the biggest entertainment properties in the world, but also like competitive Pokemon is crazy. It's a crazy thing to like know what EVs and IVs and memorizing all 200 moves and how all the types interact.
I have no fucking idea what's going on.
I love it so much. It's so great.
Yeah.
I love the fact that that's there as an option. But like, you don't need it at all. Yeah. You can play through Pokemon in the most casual setting and play it however you want. I think that's the beauty of the game too. Is there's people who make specific parties, and just play it how they want to play, and then there's the people who play it ultra competitive, and there's just so much depth to it that even the first time I tried to get into it, I was like, my mind was blown. I was like, holy shit, what the hell is happening right now? But then once you get into it, it's so much fun. I don't know. I just love that about Pokemon.
And that is the thing, is that Pokemon, it really is in this spot that can be hard at times because it is, it's trying to answer for so many people. Masuda said that, right? He was aware, but like, my 6-year-old cousin, she turned 6 a couple weeks ago. She had a big old Pokemon party. I had a Pokemon party when I was 6, right? 23 years later, there's very few properties that 23 years later, people are still having birthday parties based around when they're, turning the same age that I was back then. And like, I think that but then you also now have 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds that played Pokemon and said have been playing it since the very beginning. And
That's me, I'm 30.
Yeah. And then there's people that are lapsed and say, I want this to be something new and different. But like, I think that ultimately Pokemon is in among the most, difficult positions of any series because it is just so popular and there's so many different types of people that play it in different ways. And, and
it's been around for so long.
Yeah,
so it has a lot.
And so with it, and they said like we want your Pokemon to always be transferable forward. We want it to never leave a Pokemon behind, right?
Yeah.
And so like you you're now at 900. Probably going to be close to 1,000 at the end of this game, depending on how it goes.
Yeah, I mean they're probably, if I had to guess, they'd probably add like 70 to 80 more.
Yeah, which is what they've settled on when they've got. Yeah. After Gen 5 boosted the number super high very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, we'll see more of it. But it's, I think that for Saf and Moose, who are not here, both of them seem positive on it. And so I think it's exciting just to be able to get back on the Pokemon train and to look forward to stuff, hearing more as we go down the line.
Oh yeah, Pokemon season, baby!
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Best season.
The best season.
Wait, what month is it? February? God,
February.
It's February.
Like 7 more
months.
9 more months.
Today's the last day of
God.
February.
I can't.
And the best part is the info's just going to keep on trickling in, man. We're going to get a little bit here and a little bit
just
there.
Just fucking end me.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I think, man, I just want to note really fast. I think it's so cool that the biggest city in the region we haven't seen at all. Like, that's so cool. Like, we didn't see London. Man, because when I heard UK region, which was rumored, I thought, UK, whatever. Hate the country, so like, why do I care? I don't actually. But they showed me that trailer, and I was like, you know what? You sold me again. You bastards, you did it again. So yeah, so looking forward to seeing more of that. Speaking of things we will be seeing more of in the near future, hopefully, we got us some next-gen rumors to talk about.
Baby.
Now, this is all.
Don't stop.
They don't stop. Well, the thing is, we're about getting close. DICE happened a couple weeks ago. We're getting close to GDC. These places where a bunch of developers are in the room is where leaks start to happen, because these companies are now having to start communicating with developers about this is the internals of this system, this is when we're planning on releasing, so drip. And we got 2 this is fun whenever 2 sites are like, oh yeah, you heard that, well then I heard, oh yeah, well then I heard. Which is between Jus Video, Jus, I don't know, it's French. And then Thoreau, which is another, or Thoreau, don't know. Guys, get better to understand names. But both of these companies, you might know, both of them have sort of made a name for themselves, and specifically Xbox related and Microsoft related leaks and rumors. And they are continuing that tradition because they have gotten enough sourcing in to where they're confident enough to publish an article about the next generation of Xbox consoles. And there's some stuff here that's not super crazy, or stuff that we've at least talked about. They further reinforce the concept that there's going to be 2 versions at launch of the next generation Xbox, not unlike the Xbox One S and Xbox One X as they currently exist on the market. So one as a higher spec, more expensive product, one as a cheaper. That they still reinforce what they've been hearing about a discless Xbox One coming later this year for a cheaper price. The one thing they've heard that's new is that both new consoles would be getting a solid state drive. And I don't like to go into the internals of tech too much because I don't know enough, but a solid state drive is something that I have heard of and do know it of. And essentially, the biggest thing that it allows for, you can correct me here if you know better, because I think, Noah, at least you have a better PC mind than I do. Loading times is the biggest thing that solid state allows for. Which is...
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Takes the stress off of, like, the computer.
Yeah. And so I think that it's interesting because we have noticed this generation that like loading the little like splash screen for when you start up a game has gotten slowly longer and longer as the games have gotten more and more elaborate.
Seriously. You ain't fucking kidding about that shit, man.
Really? I haven't noticed.
Sometimes I'll start up Sea of Thieves when I want to play that, and I'll take like a full minute and a half, and I'm like, come on, guys.
Oh, you actually play that game?
They got at least one, which is me.
Yeah, I played it with you one time. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. But that is the thing. The big news, I would say, the two biggest things. They now have heard of timing where they're going to show off and release these bad boys, I guess I should say, which is that they're looking at holiday 2020 to come out, but they may that in recent months they've moved the announcement up to E3 this year. And that Halo Infinite is going to be presented as a cross-gen, but still a launch title for the Xbox One too. Now, this is an interesting thing because I mentioned in conversation the other day with someone about how like Nintendo's 2016 was a year that they didn't put out a lot of games, but like they actually put themselves in a good position for the next generation, right? Because they had Pokemon Go, they had Mario Run be a big thing, they got a lot of coverage, and they had Breath of the Wild have a really good E3, right? And I feel like Microsoft is might have a similar situation with their 2019, where like Crackdown 3 is out, it didn't get great reviews, right? The software side is sort of dried up because they're clearly looking towards the future. But they're making announcements with Game Pass on being on multiple things, and I think now an E3 where they will be completely unchallenged in terms of their hardware announcement, right? Sony's not going to be there at all, period.
Right.
They will have the whole, the biggest show of the year to themselves, essentially, to set the narrative, to set the tone, to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Please look forward to it, right? And I think that that's a thing that they may have moved up because they saw the opportunity there.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It would be a smart decision if they did that, yeah. I mean, it sounds good to me.
Yeah. When you're looking at Xbox, I want to ask you this. When it comes to like Halo Infinite being the launch title, right? What do you think? Halo is an interesting place because it used to be huge, right? If we look at when we talked about the Smash Ultimate doing so well, it beat 4 Halo games, which had the top 4 exclusive months, right? That was 1 through 4 originally. But this generation, it's fallen off in a big way, right? I would say, sales-wise and how it's sort of perceived.
Wait, has there been a Halo 5?
There has been a Halo 5.
Okay, that's exactly how you know that I don't know anything about Halo anymore.
And so, how much do you think is riding on specifically Halo Infinite in the perception of this game, of this console's life cycle?
If they can make a good game out of it, if they can revive that fan base, then that'd be great. I mean, it still has a huge name. A lot of people know what Halo is, and you put it along at launch. That's a good chance you have a real good opportunity of bolstering both the system and the franchise.
Yeah.
Because Halo still has clout to its name. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
I mean, it is blowing up even a little bit more now with all the memes with people just walking around doing the Halo theme in bathrooms and shit. I don't know what that is about, but people still love and know about Halo, and I don't know. I think in order for the new Xbox to be as successful as it can be, if they're riding on Halo, it needs to be a good game. It needs to be at least, if not better than 3, 4, and 5.
Well, you would expect that much, but yeah.
Because 2, I think, was at least perception wise for me, was it at its height, was Halo 2.
Yeah, probably.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever topped it. 3, I think, was also pretty big, but was Bungie's last one 3, or did they stop at 2? I don't.
They stopped at Reach.
Okay, so they did do 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, they did the trilogy, and then 4 was 343's first game.
Right.
God, 4 was real bad, though.
I think ever since Bungie stopped, it hasn't been as big. But I don't know.
And I think that part of it is that, is that 343, I think, was clearly always sort of chasing the ghost of Bungie, right?
Yeah.
And sort of, I mean, part of the reporting was that Halo is looking at having more open environments that you're exploring and looking at bringing in more RPG type elements to the game as to sort of the things that they had heard, right? And that basically they were doing that thing of reassessing the tropes of Halo to sort of like recontextualize them because, I mean, the series is 18 years old at this point, right? Like it's both super important, but also it was the first console shooter, and in some ways it's still building off the back of being the first console shooter, you know? With Twin Sticks, I guess I should say. Sorry, GoldenEye.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
you were
come
about
on.
to trigger me real hard.
Give fair play.
GoldenEye, Perfect Dark,
what
Doom.
the fuck?
You're fair. The dual stick, modern control
dual
schemes,
stick.
yeah.
Throwing Quake under the bus too, man.
Listen, Quake lives on PC. What are we talking about? But
Still.
But yeah, so I mean, it's this. So it'll be interesting. Just looking forward to that stuff at E3. Obviously, Microsoft is we've talked positively in recent years. In the recent year, basically, of like a lot of their decision making. You hope that it pays off in some way for them. Not necessarily always being the like distant second and being just laughed off. Like it feels like they have been a lot this generation, right? Like, why would you buy an Xbox? Is like a thing I see a lot on her online sentiment, and it's like no, like they're now creating genuine reasons to care. Another thing that was rumored is they bought Ninja Theory. Not Team Ninja. I always get those names mixed up by accident. Ninja Theory's game would also be super close to launch, if not launch, for the next Xbox. And both Halo Infinite and the Ninja Theory's game would both be cross-gen. So they would keep cross-gen going for a while. I wouldn't be shocked if you literally just bought Xbox. Like if they just make it. This disc also works in Xbox One S too. But yeah. So it'll be interesting. Then last for the news before we just move on into other things, we got Evo, baby. Evo announced its lineup for the year.
Boom pow, boom boom pow.
Boom boom pow. Evo's, I like fighting games. I will follow fighting games some, but it's always fun to take that weekend of Evo and just be like, I'm gonna watch a bunch of people be really good at video games in a way that I can never be.
That's true.
And part of the fun of Evo is that, like the international or whatever league's big tournament is, or like Overwatch League, it's one game. And the part of the fun of Evo is that it's this thing that's so many different games, so many different things happening all at once. And they have upped it to 9 games on the main stage this year for Evo, which is always the big, the stuff that gets streamed and gets a lot of the views. And there are some things that are missing, but there are some things that are new. So let me just run them down really fast. The obvious ones that are still there. Street Fighter V. The day of Street Fighter is not at Evo, is the day that Evo no longer exists.
It doesn't exist.
We got Dragon Ball Fighters, Soul Calibur 6,
Nice.
Tekken 7. We have Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle as the other Arxis game.
Cool.
We have Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Yeah, baby.
We have Mortal Kombat 11, should mention, so that'll be real close to release because that's coming out in April.
I like that better than Injustice.
Yeah. And these two names may be unfamiliar to you. Samurai Showdown.
Oh.
Yeah. And Under Night in Birth EX : late ST.
Sounds like a fighting game.
Sounds like a fighting game.
Melee's finally dead?
Melee is finally dead. That's
baby.
About time.
It took
time. Celebrate.
It's very funny because I think that the general FGC and Mr. Wizard in particular has made no secrets in the past about how Melee being at Evo has been a big headache for them because you have the capture equipment for all the games and the switchers back behind the scenes. All that stuff everyone bought for HD and sort of just like had their SD equipment like back in some back room. They have to trug it all out specifically only for Melee every single year because the CRTs. But they did a little tribute video, which is the funniest thing. Marvel never got a tribute video. Melee did. That was almost a funeral thing. It was like a "I will remember you" thing.
Oh my God. Pour one out, not for the boy. I'm gonna pour one out on the boy. I'm gonna take a copy of Melee.
Now hold on. Let's not insult the game. The game itself is good, but you know the scene around it has been annoying at times. But I want to give a moment to say One Samurai Showdown, in case you missed. This was announced at TGS last year. We hadn't heard about a Western release really anywheres. We got confirmed early summer for this coming out. This was shown off at the EVO announcement. We heard this. We got a new trailer, and it's a worldwide release. So I thought that I was like, oh, I think this is the first time ever for a Samurai Showdown game, and it's also, I mean, it's the first time that the series is back in like 15 years. So if you haven't seen it, it looks good. It looks more in the style of Street Fighter 4 than even Street Fighter 5 does. Like it has a lot of brush strokes sort of effect to it. That looks
that's cool.
Yeah, good for them.
And Under Night, I feel happy for Under Night because Under Night has existed as a series for like 6 years now, and it's a thing that I hear about mostly because that title's insane and people will mention it like, can you believe this fighting game title? But last year they actually had the highest number of entrants of any game not at the main stage, and it like increased by a large amount year over year. So it's been a lot of the community trying to get more people involved, trying to raise awareness of the game, and ultimately they're getting that spotlight for the first time. Little interesting things. We mentioned Sunday games are a big deal for EVO. That's like, most people understand that Sunday is like the main event games, right? That's where Street Fighter is, and it always ends with Street Fighter. They've moved it around a little bit. Instead of having 5 Sunday games, they have 4 Sunday games, 5 Saturday games. And the big thing that's missing off Sunday is Dragon Ball FighterZ, which had the highest entrance of any game at EVO last year. But the sort of thought process is they want you watching the full weekend now, right? So now, because a lot of people skip Saturday, they say, I'll watch the main event basically tomorrow. Now with fighters being popular, the thought is, we'll get more eyes on the smaller games that maybe like Samurai Showdown, like Under Night. These games can now get more eyes on them by having the tide of Dragon Ball FighterZ raise all of their ships, basically, which I respect and I think is really cool.
Yeah, it makes sense to spread around the attention to multiple days. You don't want to stack everything on one day.
Yeah.
It can get fatiguing.
Auspiciously missing, Brandon, I know, has thoughts. Is Dead or Alive 6, which is funny, because Dead or Alive doesn't have a history at EVO anyways. Dead or Alive as a series doesn't have that. But they said last year, we're making a serious play at the fighting game scene. And then they had Dead or Alive 6 at EVO, Japan, a couple weeks ago. Dead or Alive all over the place, and brought in Gravore models and like paused and was like, look at this guy, it looks like he's got his face stuck in this girl's crotch. That's pretty good, huh? And I think the biggest thing is not even that they did it, is that like they didn't tell EVO they were bringing these models or anything in. They just showed up with them and were like, what's up? They're our presenters. They're on stage now. And EVO, to be fair to it, has sponsors, right? And the sponsors care about that stuff. And it's like, hey, you brought an 18 plus model on stage and we're like a kids show that's sponsoring EVO. Like, what the heck, man? So EVO had to say, hey, we apologize. This does not represent the meme, our core values.
Our core values.
Which is, I mean, it was funny during Soul Calibur, they had Ivy show up in a little montage, and the Twitch chat just spammed core values, because
Poor Dead or Alive, though. I mean, the series, it gets it's known for what it is, like the fan service.
Yeah. And the physics, yes.
I love the fan service. I'm a big man who is easy to impress with the fan service, but I also like the fact that it's a fun fighting game. It's actually really good.
Yeah,
and I think they really wanted it to be shown off there. But
it reeks a little bit of I read it for the articles, but there's genuine fun to be had in Dead or Alive, I think, as a game. And I think
it really is.
Dead or Alive, especially like if it was 5, I feel like I played at a friend's house and I was like, dang, like I kind of want to go pick this up. I didn't, because I was a high school student. I didn't have income, but I feel bad that what was essentially this like silly marketing stunt blew up in a way they probably didn't expect it to. And so maybe pour one out if you care. If not, then don't.
That's one I'm a pour one.
I really don't care.
Hey, they did Dead or Alive dirty. They did it dirty.
Can't do what she did though. August, by the way, August 2nd through 4th for Evo. So so that's cool. One thing that I just like in general is that there's new franchises for fighting games, right? That fighting games are in this weird place, but that it's
in August.
August, yeah.
Oh, what? Why the fuck are we
time
talking about it now?
Well, that's because you have entrance. You have to have months of people a lot, like planning trips and planning stuff. So that'll be cool. When it happens.
Yeah, when you were mentioning too, like fighting games, they were in a rut for the early 2000s, right?
Yeah, the PS2 generation was not a great one.
They were dead.
Yeah,
fighting games were dead or alive, but
oh boy, the meme. Got him.
You know what? I ain't even mad. That's pretty good. Yeah. So I mean, like you said, it's fun. I mean, Street Fighter 4 sort of revived the franchise, and but it's nice to see that there are series besides Street Fighter that are growing and experiencing growth, because the more the merrier. Yeah. So there we go. That's the news for this week. That's both a lot of stuff to get through, but also it was fun to get to go in depth on stuff like Pokemon. So thanks for that, boys. But now we bring our focus instead to the list.
The list.
That was really well synced up. I'm very happy with that. Last week, Ills brought a game. Ills, can you tell us what game that was?
It was Toomba, right?
It was Toomba. Oh boy, what a good game. And it made it where on the list?
57.
57. Good spot.
Well, I did my best.
So we're now going to write the order, but we're also going to take a moment to give a shout out to our boy Noah. Due to extenuating life circumstances, for the time being, will not be able to make it for the regular Jump Up Supercast. But he's been very sad. But you've been a valuable member since the beginning, and we want to give a round of applause for you. Did a lot of the editing work for a very good amount of time. Anyway, and that's
still does.
Still will.
Still will. Saf and Noah, the team. And so yeah, I mean, just want to give a quick shout to and a thank you to Noah for all the good times we've had. But in your final episode,
wait, hashtag thank you Noah in the comments.
Hashtag thank you Noah.
We lost Reggie last week.
And Noah this week. Oh my god! Press F to pay respects. He's still going to be on the Game Club.
God. Hopefully we lose Saf next.
They'll be exclusively on the Game Club now.
Yeah, if you want to hear Noah's voice, listen.
Game Club exclusive.
If you want to hear Muzi, come to this episode. We don't know if any of those people exist. So, Noah, it is now your chance to add. What do you got for us?
All right. Gave it a lot of thought. Usual joke here. More than 40 minutes. I had a lot of time to think. So, we're gonna put in a beloved game that's close to my heart, Dark Souls.
Oh my god, I thought about Dark Souls, and oh boy.
Oh man.
Boy, oh boy.
Life
It's
is
gonna
over.
be a good one.
No, how did you did this to us?
Officially, I'm checking out. I have not.
You've not played it? So it's just the three of us?
Three? Oh
Yes.
my god.
Oh my god.
It won't be a tiebreaker, but
It won't be a tiebreaker, but I did not feel good about this. You were leaving us a devastation on the way out, Noah.
I have to.
So what is Dark Souls?
Dark Souls is an amazing RPG game.
Okay.
Gorgeous, fucking amazing soundtrack. I absolutely love it. Really beautiful environments. A really deep story that's actually hidden in a way. It doesn't really tell you the story straightforward. But as you interact with the NPCs, you go through the game and everything, it starts to uncover itself, and it's pretty wild out there. It's very challenging gameplay too. Can be frustrating at times, but you feel very rewarded once you overcome all the obstacles.
Sure. And
you actually feel like you're learning how to defeat all these enemies and such. It's a pretty remarkable game. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed it when I first played it. I actually came around discovering it just from the music too. That was a lucky one.
Oh, nice.
So I guess it should be mentioned because this has become more of a household name throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
But this was sort of, I guess Demon's Souls kind of was, but this was like the real big breakthrough game for From Software.
Oh yes, it's what made them huge.
Yeah, and it's become a big. I mean, like it's had 2 sequels. Bloodborne is in the image of Dark Souls 1, so it's had a resounding legacy. But I think it's interesting because at the time where it came out, there was sort of Dark Souls was sort of the right game at the right time in some ways, right? Where it came at this point where like Metroidvanias, as we understood them, had not yet come back in this strong way that we see now with like indie games and with everything else now. And it does have Metroidvania-like elements. It has like a
kinda. You don't backtrack as much, but you do revisit some areas just to find like another path to another area, I guess.
Yeah, but I think that one of the biggest like world design tricks that I love in FromSoft games, and I think Dark Souls 1 maybe still does it the best, is that thing of like you walk in an elevator, the elevator goes down, and you're like, oh, I'm back where I started. I didn't even realize I just made a big circle. Like,
oh yeah, no, the freaking shortcut system is fucking brilliant in that game.
Yeah, like the map is so well designed.
It is really well designed, like the environment and the level design. Yes,
like it feels like a fully realized world. Like everything is so interconnected, and it's wonderful.
100%. Yes, it's like everything about it is just so good.
I think it's
like the creatures are like the whole theme is so like dark and like
that dark fantasy. It's really gritty. It's so mysterious. Like you always feel like you're on the edge of your seat. You could die at any moment. Everything's a life and death struggle. It feels really, really good, satisfying when you get through the hard bits, especially the bosses. Like you every time you enter the fog to fight a boss, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Everything's on the line right now.
Like, even, like, the simple enemies are, like, very threatening. If you're not careful, they will kill you. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think it's funny because, like, that's the thing that exists in FromSoft games. That the idea of, like, the boss run, you know, of, like, just memorizing where the enemies are, knowing where they're going to pop out, and just getting that sort of, like, ingrained in you of, like, dodge here, stab here, get through this, go here so you can get to the boss with, like, more HP and with more Estus.
And it's also, like, it's great how you can customize your character to the point where you can go like different weapon style routes. Like you can be a magic user, you can use lightning, or you could go with fire with pyromancy, and then you can use dexterity weapons, which are quick and like do a little bit of damage, but you like can parry and like do one hit kills. I guess in some situation would be one hit kill, but and then you got like the big heavy, like the giant axes and big swords and the hammer, and or you could go range with the bow now, which isn't as great, but you do have the lightning bolts if you go the sun continent. Oh, not the what do they call them?
Covenants. Yeah.
You could become a Sunbro, and then you have overpowered lightning bolts.
You have Solaire on your side.
Yeah.
So I mean, we talking very highly of Dark Souls. Clearly, where do you want to put it on the list, Noah?
Well, I definitely want in the top 5.
Okay.
But you know what? I don't know if people are gonna agree with me, but I'm gonna go for the top.
Number 1.
Yeah. Number one.
I don't.
We need a time. We need like we've been fighting over Super Metroid and Breath of the Wild. We need someone to take the crown. I'm gonna nominate Dark Souls.
I don't know.
I agree with you over Breath of the Wild, but I don't know about over Super Metroid. In the list that we had for the old podcast. Super Metroid was over Dark Souls, and that's the reason why I chose Super Metroid to beat Dark Souls.
So, I mean, I don't know if I would put it over either. So here's my biggest problems with Dark Souls. Is that it is an ambitious game. It has an incredible scope to it. I really like it a lot. But there are some points of that game where I go in dreading elements of it that are not the way I'm supposed to, right? Like, there are some parts of that game, like Blighttown is a big one, where you a couple of other problem areas where that game is running in single-digit FPSs for major portions of, like, that zone, and it's like the minute I get through it, I'm like, please never make me have to go back to those areas again, because
you had like frame issues. What
super
console did
bad
you play on?
on 360. And then I played it on PC too, and I had to get the PC fix. But even on the PC fix, it was a mess. I think that's like a pretty common thing that people experienced. And
I don't remember that, but anyway.
But I mean, well, no, I mean, and then there's elements of it where I think that the game does. There are stuff that they iron out in later games. I think when it comes to the combat feel, to the way that the game controls, because there are moments where you really do feel like sometimes it gets out of your hands in a way that you don't like, and when a game is that punishing and that demanding, it's great. But when you have those moments where you feel a sense of cheapness or a sense of like, oh, I shouldn't have slid off that platform, I shouldn't have gotten knocked this way, then it creates moments where you're really frustrated, and it sort of takes you out of that sense of like, I can push through this. The game is on me to like figure it out. So
I don't think that I ever felt cheated. I just felt like this was a hurdle I really had to get over.
I mean, I would say
that's the thing.
Like 90% of the time,
that's what like kind of motivates you to keep pushing forward.
No, and I totally
like
get
with
that.
other games, like I would get frustrated, like something like that would happen. But for some reason, with Dark Souls, it's just like surprisingly enough, even though it was one of the toughest ones I've ever got played, like it was something about it just kept pushing me and motivating me to keep going, because I knew like the satisfaction that I would feel after overcoming all these hurdles would be great and were really worthwhile, and they always were.
I mean, and I get
True that.
I get that, but what I would say is that there was like a 5% of the time where I wouldn't feel that way, right? And that's I think the issue where the game exists. Like, is that there are, I mean, I found the Black Town video, by the way. It's 15 FPS on average. But like I mean, I still think it should be probably like top 3 for sure. But I don't know if I would feel confident putting it number 1, because I do think that like I would even put Super Metroid, I think, above Dark Souls. Right? And I mean, I would put Breath of the Wild above Dark Souls too, but I think that the Dark Souls is this great, ambitious game, but there's enough rough edges to it where I look at it and say like, man, the fundamentals of this are like why I play video games. But I think Super Metroid and Breath of the Wild also represent that, and I think both of them are overall more polished in a way that Dark Souls, because it was a smaller budget, it couldn't be. But also that means that like I would put it below those games.
It's up to you, Ills. What are you gonna do? Put it at the top. Do it.
With 3 people, put anything at number 1.
Yeah,
is
I
a
feel
little
kind of
effed up.
bad that it's the skeleton crew, and I don't want to put it on top just for us 3. I don't want the others to feel cheated.
Well, maybe they should have been here for my last episode.
No,
Well,
the
I'm
thing
here,
is,
and I haven't played the game. I feel a little cheated.
that's true. I mean,
I was just gonna say about Dark Souls, like the 2 parts that are kind of not great are, is Blighttown the poison lake at the bottom?
yeah, and
And that and the other place, the place that's all fire basically.
mm-hmm,
Those 2 places I didn't like too much.
yeah.
I felt like they were kind of a drag.
And Undeadburg, where like the enemies can run into the boss arena and like the camera's really janky because it's that small enclosed space. I didn't love a whole lot.
Well, I mean,
it depends on what level of frustration you have, depending on.
yeah, I mean, I felt like the whole environment was against me in those 2 areas where I was talking
Yeah.
about.
I held out the whole environment was against me in the whole game.
Well, yeah, I mean, but
not in a way that
this way.
Simple design.
In this way, you couldn't avoid it, really.
Yeah.
You were just you just had to like slog through it, which was I didn't like that design part of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
I get what you mean.
So I mean, those parts, God, I like this. I love this game like so much, but yeah, I think I'd put it at number 3 probably.
Okay.
Number 3. All right.
Number 3. I mean, still incredibly high.
Yeah.
So there it is, number 3 on the list. Dark Souls 1 should be noted. The other 2 Dark Souls are still good.
They're good, but I don't know. For some reason, they couldn't surpass the first one.
I
think
still
part
think
of
3 was
Bloodborne
pretty fucking
is
good.
the better game. I think Bloodborne is better than Dark Souls.
I think I.
Yeah, I could see it's definitely some aspects. Yes.
So never pick Bloodborne.
Never pick. I don't want to. Yeah.
I was actually considering picking Bloodborne.
Oh my god.
There it is. Number 3 on the list. Brandon, you had to sit there and almost see a game get put to number 1 and just have to quietly sit through it. I imagine that was probably a concerning experience for you, so I think you've earned the final phrase.
Cool. 2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row. There was decent odds that someone else could have had that spot, but they're not here. But before you do that, actually, Brandon, at the risk of another thing about it, Noah shoot the final phrase. It's his final episode. Come on.
Right.
I don't mind, but all right.
Well, either way, that is the. While you're thinking on that, both of you can have a final. I don't give a frick, dude. Either way, Jump Up Supercast. We're everywhere, baby. And by everywhere, I mean specifically twitter.com and twitch.tv and instagram.com and facebook.com, all of which, if you type in /Jump Up Supercast onto those URLs, you'll be taken to our web pages where we put out updates on when our episodes go live every Monday of this podcast, every other Thursday of the Jump Up Supercast Game Club. Last week, Noah got a pick of Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, or New and Tasty, Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey. Can't remember. Either way, so you can go check that out. Subscribe to us on your podcast service of choice. Rate us 5 stars on said podcast service because it helps us out along the way. Follow us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Twitch so you can see when Brandon goes live playing Xenoblade Chronicles. Brandon, Saf isn't here. Have you got to Gower Plains?
Yeah, as I've already said. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I have.
Yes.
You just have to keep asking him forever.
I just want to make sure you didn't delete a save. So you can catch him playing more of that along the way. We're like a sixth of the way through the year, and he's roughly a 10th of the way through one of his 5 games. So we'll see how it goes. But until then, we want to thank you all for listening. And now, Noah, your final phrase.
Do me a big favor as a parting gift. Please share the podcast with all your friends so they can get to listen how great the podcast was and still is going to be, even though I'm not going to be here. I love you all. I'll see you in the game club if you listen.